Welcome to everyone from all parts of the state. And I will just begin now and lead us in our acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands where we meet, pay respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge the important role Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples continue to play within the community. QDN also acknowledges people with disability who have come before us and died in institutional settings, as well as those who are still trapped in institutions or silenced by institutional practices. We take on the responsibilities of being clear about the rights of all people with disability, and where necessary, speak in an informed and considered manner for those who cannot speak for themselves. All right. Well, I don't really think I need to introduce myself, but I know according to our agenda, Gina, I'm going to. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Talitha Kingsmill, and I'm very privileged to be the chairperson, board chair for QDN. Today, my visual description is I'm a bit rugged up. I know that people in the southern states of Australia would laugh at me sitting in Brisbane because I am coming very much from Turrbal and Yagara country. But today I'm wearing a denim jacket and black roll top and have brown hair, and I am a middle-aged white woman. So thank you to everyone for joining us. So first up, we're going to start off with an update from me. I'm just going to give us an overview. There's so much happening at the moment, but just going to sort of hit on a few particular points. Then we're going to have an update from Paige Armstrong. Now, for those of you, some of you may know and some may not, that Michelle Moss, our CEO, is on leave. So Michelle's on leave, and Paige Armstrong is stepping into the acting deputy CEO role. And many of you will know Paige because Paige was our former CEO. Is Paige online yet, Gina, or is she still in that other meeting? No, she's still there. Okay, so she will be joining us. Then we're going to have our member introductions, which is always one of my favourite parts of our meeting. So I'm going to thank Kate Dufty and Josh Marshall in advance because they're going to speak with us today and share a little bit about themselves, which we're really looking forward to. Karen Brady and Nick Corriott were also going to join us, but they're unfortunately an apology from both of them, and we're hoping that we will catch up with them at one of our next meetings. So we look forward to that also. We've then got a QD Engage update from our Projects and Innovation Manager, Rebecca Casson, and some of you might remember that Beck has been with us in a couple of our previous meetings, so there's just going to be an update then. I will then take everyone through a bit of an overview because this year is the board election year. Every 2 years, QDN board has elections of directors, and 2026 is one of those years. So I will just take people through a bit of an overview of the nomination process. And then we are going to just have some time for feedback and discussion around the topics listed. So we've got a lot to get through. So without further ado, I will head over to a bit of an update. There are so many things I could touch on. The first one I wanted to start with was just to give everybody an overview that Isabel, sorry, was that a sign for me? An indication of something? No? I've lost Isabel, but I'm taking it no. Okay. All right. So the first one was the National Reconciliation Week. So QDN celebrated beautiful National Reconciliation Week 2026 and Mabo Day event with the theme of All In. I was able to attend that event, and I just wanted to let everybody know that it really was beautiful. The speakers included Hannah Murray, who's a human rights lawyer, and also the granddaughter of Eddie and Benita Mabo. Uncle Paul Calcott shared some of his beautiful artwork, and we had our own Uncle Willie Prince. Is Uncle Willie on with us today? I'm not sure. I can't see him, but he's often with us, and Uncle Willie shared a beautiful acknowledgement of country and marked the event for all of us. So that was really lovely. If you haven't checked out some of those photos of the incredible artwork that Uncle Paul shared, they're available on the Facebook site on QDN's official one there. Also, just wanting to touch on, and some people have been involved in this today already, we had the online QDN policy position statement forum from 1 till 3 today. And I know that that was an incredibly really productive event. So for people that were able to join, I wasn't able to join that one today, I'm afraid, but I've already heard really great feedback. And that event is going to work with the event that I've spoken to at previous chairperson and peer leader meetings. We had the peer leader meeting in Brisbane where we had the economic position forum, and that was in April. So with today's events, all of that information works towards QDN coming up with a very strong policy statement looking at employment. And as I mentioned earlier in the year, that was one of the key priorities of the board for 2026, was actually developing really strong policy statements in a number of portfolio areas. So many thanks to everybody that was able to attend today. I believe that we will hear more from Paige on this next part, so I won't go into a huge amount of detail, but as many of you know from reading the policy update or QDN e-news, that on Wednesday the 10th of June, we had our CEO, so Michelle Moss, speak at the NDIS amendment securing the NDIS for Future Generations Bill hearing. Michelle was the first speaker. If anybody was interested in hearing that and hasn't, the link to that is available on our website under the news tab. But Michelle spoke there about the key points that were coming up, and many of you on here have been involved in the sessions, the information session and then the feedback forum that we ran leading up to giving that feedback. So there was really strong points, many things covered. I won't work through them all here this afternoon, but just looking at the importance in our submission of retaining the whole of assessment principles, addressing concerns about that increased ministerial power and loss of co-governance with states and territories, and also helping to ensure that alternative systems of support are actually in place before the changes are introduced, and retaining the or I should say amending the bill to actually ensure safeguards for all people with disability, and really underpinning that the way to do that is having that engagement and co-design with our community, with our carers, with our families, and that this is something that can't happen and be rushed through without that authentic, really important engagement. So I do believe Paige will talk a little bit more about that. Then the other one I wanted to touch on was the Small Changes, Big Differences Forum. So that was launched, and we spoke to this in our last peer leaders meeting, but that was launched on the 1st of May, and many of you on here feature in that incredible advertising campaign. We see many of your faces. We also, across the last month, have hosted a forum to discuss that campaign and review the campaign materials. So again, I'd recommend it if you haven't had a chance to actually look at that campaign information in much detail. Please jump onto the website. If that's difficult to do, please just ring our main reception number and someone will be able to work through that with you. Human rights, I just wanted to make people aware that there is the review of Queensland's anti-discrimination and human rights framework. Many of you are probably aware that the Queensland Human Rights Act was only introduced in 2019. So it's one of the more recent pieces of legislation in that suite, but they're actually the government has announced that the review will look at some aspects of the Respect at Work and Other Matters Amendment Act that amend the Anti-Discrimination Act as well. The consultation deadline is yet to be provided, but we'll be updating all of our members as we hear more about that The other one that I just wanted to raise was to do with disaster management. And I know some people I've had discussions with you already about this, but just out of interest, so the federal government is launching a new warning system, and that's coming on board in October, and it's called AUS Alert. And it uses cell broadcast technology to send near instant messages to mobile phones that are compatible in an emergency. So there's going to be more information coming out about that. But again, if you would like some material at the moment, there is a link included under the news tab on our website. And the final one we'll finish with, and this is good timing because I've seen that Paige has joined us. And just keep doing what you're doing, Paige. It's all good. For a moment, I've just got one more piece. She's probably trying to have breakfast or lunch or something. Yeah. Yes. Okay. The last one I wanted to mention was just our Inclusion Matters forums, which are fantastic. If you've had an opportunity to be part of the forums, they're really such an feel-good experience and really, really important for communities generally. So the last one that we had was actually in Roma, and that was on the 17th of June. Yes. Yeah, Dale. So now Gina and Isabel, two of our POP team members that make all of these meetings that we have each month happen, are online, and Gina and Isabel were up there at that forum. Now, I do need to say here, I haven't given Gina any preparation time. I simply said it would be lovely for her to give us a couple of sort of lines about how that went, but there was great feedback about it. So Gina, I'll just hand over to you quickly.
Thanks, Talitha. It was a great community event that we held, a real sort of mix of people in the room, as has always been the case with the Inclusion Matter Forum. This is the first time QDN has been out in southwest Queensland in the Maranoa region. So we had a wonderful couple of days, didn't we, Isabel? Some really great meetings the day before the forum. We had about 35 or so people in the room, and then Isabel and I had the chance to present to the full council afterwards. So the mayor, deputy mayor, and all the councillors were in house. So a great opportunity to increase the awareness of QDN and all that we do. And special shout out to Peter Tully, who's here now and took a little detour to be part of our day as well in Roma. Thanks, Peter, and yeah, thanks, Talitha.
Thank you so much, Gina. So Peter, that was you in the van. I can't see you on my screen, but I can imagine
No, Talitha, I'm
No?
home this afternoon.
I know, but when you visited, when Gina said you
Oh,
took
yeah,
out,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
So I was on a rural and remote project for the Queensland government and for another organisation. And like Gina said, we took a little detour to make it happen. So, and we were really pleased to be involved, and it was good to see some of the people that we've been working with in other projects.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you, Pete, very much. Um, all right. Well, look, the last part I'm going to end on there is just a plug for our next forum, which Isabel and the team are very busy organising, and that one is going to focus on education and learning for the 16th of July. So I know we'll hear much more about that then. So yes, so much happening, and I certainly haven't covered all of it. I've just tried to highlight a few parts for us this afternoon. But now it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Paige, who's going to give us a little bit more of an overview. So over to you. Thanks, Paige.
Thanks, Talitha, and good afternoon, everyone. And apologies, I was a bit late joining because I've had some technology issues this afternoon, which we have hopefully resolved as we've gone along on the computer. So unfortunately, Talitha, it missed the first part of what you were saying. So you may already have touched or covered off on some of the things that I'm going to talk on.
Paige, that will be absolutely. I'll let you know if there's anything. And I did introduce you. I don't know if you were here at the time. You know, need no introduction to anybody online, but I did explain that Michelle is overseas on leave at the moment, and that we have the great pleasure of you acting in the Deputy CEO role for us during that time. So, yeah, over to you.
Thank you so much. So, and I would say that Michelle has gone away at a busy time in both disability land, but also in general community service land. It's, as people would be aware, the state budget was handed down last week, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But we are at what they call end of financial year. All that means is that at the end of each financial year, organisations like QDN have to write reports and acquit back or give a record back to government about how we've spent any of the government funds that we have in. And given that QDN works across a variety of programs, Brendan, who is the acting CEO, is outside very busily engaging in that activity, just as we're also writing some grant applications to ensure that QDN can keep on doing the wonderful range of work that it does in the future. So just a couple of things that I'll touch on. If I touch on the budget firstly, the state budget was handed down, and we've had a good look through the budget. There are a couple of things in the budget, but nothing that we would say are standout items, either for people with disability or vulnerable people who may or may not identify as having a disability generally. There is money in the budget. We were very pleased to see that there was a continuation of advocacy funding, because the 15 state advocacy services that many of you may utilise at some stage across Queensland are funded through a state disability program, and that program has had a budget uplift in the previous year. There was a bit of uncertainty at the beginning about whether it would be retained this year, but the good news is that the advocacy services generally have been given an additional funding uplift of nearly $6 million, just under $6 million, to continue doing some of the great individual advocacy work that they do across Queensland. Other things that may be of interest to people in the budget were a continuation of the patient travel subsidy scheme. Oh, sorry, I should actually touch firstly on there's funds for 1 year to extend the wheelchair accessible taxi scheme. So the tax, which I imagine is the taxi subsidy scheme that many people across the state are currently using. So there's funding committed in that for a continuation of that. There was also some funding in the state budget for an increase in the patient travel subsidy scheme. For anyone that's tried to access health services across the state, but especially people living in the regional and remote parts of Queensland, you'd understand what a cost impost it is for anyone to actually get to a hospital when you could be hundreds upon hundreds of miles away. There is a scheme that's funded through Queensland Health called the Patient Travel Subsidy Scheme. That has been funding a travel allowance that has been relatively low. It was increased up to 45 cents a kilometre for use in this budget, which actually, believe it or not, is quite a big increase. What we would have also liked to have seen that to go along with that increase was an increase in the overnight accommodation for families and supporters of people who are travelling with people who need to be admitted to hospital. And I see that Nadia's just put in the chat. Nadia, yes, it was 34 cents and has historically been sitting between 30 to 34 cents a kilometre up until this budget, when it was increased to 45 cents a kilometre. There's additional funding for social and affordable housing and for frontline housing and homelessness services. those funds are in quite a big, like the total amount is rolled up in the budget. So we're quite eager to talk with the Department of Housing and the other housing organisations that we work so closely with, like Q Shelter and Cheer Queensland, the other community housing peak organisation, to get a better understanding of what that will look like on the ground and how it may contribute to a better supply of affordable and accessible housing for people with disability around the state. But that's a bit of a roundup of the state budget, and information went out last week. So if anyone hasn't got it, I'm sure that we can resend information that went out on the budget. I suppose one last thing I should say about the state budget is the noticeable absence in the state budget of any funding for a program called the Thriving Kids program. For people that have been involved in working with QDN around foundational supports, Thriving Kids is one of the programs that all states and territories have agreed on as part of the foundational supports that states and territories will provide as a supplement to people who may not need the more intensive and ongoing supports of the National Disability Insurance Scheme. And although Queensland has agreed in principle with the concept of Thriving Kids, it appears that there's still some discussion taking place between the Commonwealth and state exactly around how that program will roll out and when funding will be received for it. So that's something that we're all still eagerly awaiting to find more out about. I suppose the other big ticket item or the big news item from QDN's perspective last week was an announcement of an 8-week extension into the current parliamentary inquiry that's taking place around the National Disability Insurance Scheme amendments. And that's been extended now until the 14th of August. It was to finish in July, but that extension was granted as part of an arrangement that the Labor government entered into with the Greens in order to get the overall budget, the federal budget, passed and certain components of the federal budget passed. Now that means that anyone who's still wanting to place an application or to let the government know anything, in other words, people who are wanting to tell their story about what the impact of these changes may be upon their life and their supports that support them having a life as part of the NDIS. It does mean that there is a possibility now for people to provide a later submission. And we've also, in addition to Michelle providing evidence to the Parliamentary Committee, we were lucky enough to be included in a roundtable that was held last week where the NDIA came and spoke with a number of advocacy and people with disability organisations about the scheme and changes to the scheme, and we were able to raise some concerns around impact. And I'm going to get Beck to talk about that because she attended that on my behalf whilst I went to a event up in Toowoomba around small changes, big differences. But just before I hand over to Beck, Nigel, I noticed that you've got your hand up. Was there something that you wanted to ask or say?
I just wanted to ask whether QDN was going to draft a letter that could be distributed to the senators, particularly the Queensland senators, regarding some of those impacts in general terms. Whether there was any capacity to draft, like a 5-point statement or letter that could be distributed to Queensland senators. But prior to the 14th of August, whether that was a piece of work that anybody might have been doing. So I'm not sure, but I just thought when we had a discussion
Nigel?
last, I thought it was a good idea that we might
Yes.
distribute something like that to members or make available to members so they could send it on to their senator with some
And
key messages.
Nigel, what I might do is Nick, are you online?
Yeah. Yep,
Nick, can
I'm here,
you,
Paige.
because
Yep.
my understanding is that you have developed some information sheets and some pro forma letters, etc., that people could take to
Yeah.
local MPs.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Fair.
I can put the link in now, Nigel, but yeah, we've done like
Mm.
we've done template letters that can be sent out to federal
Yep.
MPs and
I just
senators.
wanted to know if anything could be
Yeah.
tailored to the Queensland senators. So a list of Queensland senators and their email addresses that we could just send the letter to. That's all. That I don't know how difficult that is, but I thought it would be a useful resource to be able to give to members to distribute now that we know there's an extension on the inquiry.
Yeah.
And I think that would be possible to do, wouldn't it, Nick? We could actually
Yeah.
tailor that
Yeah.
to cover off the Queensland senators and perhaps tailor it a bit more to the particular Queensland situation. Like the issues will be similar, but there are some, as we all know, in Queensland, we have that tyranny of distance in addition to everything else.
Quick observation page last week, the committee released the interim report, which I thought was particularly underwhelming. So
Yes.
the final report will come out on the 14th of August, but you can go and upload or download the interim report with its 4 recommendations currently, based on the inquiry and the public hearings.
Excellent, Nigel. Thank you. And Paige, I'm just thinking I'm conscious of time too. So did you want to throw to Beck Casson now, were you saying about
I
that as
was,
well?
Talitha, just the last
Yeah,
thing I was going to say
of
before
course.
there was just one more thing I was going to mention before I threw over to her, and that was just to let people know that we also had a great employment forum that was on today, and a big shout out to all the people that participated in that forum because it was a really good and robust discussion. And we've also just finished some work um, around the housing work that we've been doing, but we might give a bit more of an update about that later. And if I turn, Beck, would you like to give people just a quick overview of what we were able to raise at the forum with the NDIA?
Yeah, thanks, Paige. Hi, everyone. It's Beck speaking. It's really good to be back here again, seeing all your faces. So I went to, as Paige mentioned, the NDIA held a Queensland Disability Advocacy Organisation roundtable. So this was a roundtable that was facilitated by Desley, who many of you know, and also Mark Edmonds and David Hodgson, sorry, who I know many of you know as well, were there and who did excellent work around that community engagement piece. This roundtable was a day or two after the 8-week extension was announced to the bill. So the NDIA team didn't have a lot of insight around that because, you know, they're sitting in the NDIA, not up in Parliament. However, it was a really great conversation with all the advocacy organisations. I'll try and keep it brief. Some of the things we raised were around in the current state around access planning and people seeking a review when there's human or AI error. So we've got examples from our members from that. Also about providers who are already exiting in some regions in Queensland where there's already thin markets. So, you know, just querying whether there's a market stewardship plan there or a workforce strategy so that people living in those regional and remote areas continue to receive the supports that they will need because we are hearing of providers starting to exit. The ICANN version 6 and how it's being tested. So Melbourne Uni are doing the testing of the ICANN at the moment, the Centre for Disability there. They are testing that across all disability types and intersections as well. They're a version of that tool or the ICANN for under 16s will be developed down the track. And I know that was something that a lot of members had brought up as well. The issue around community participation and those potential cuts that may come in from the 1st of October and the risk there around the sequencing of setting up foundational supports in time was also raised. And with this 8-week kind of time, I guess, that submissions can still be made to the NDIS bill, we talked about whether or not there could be some type of readiness assessment to see if Queensland, is going to be ready for any of those social or community participation cuts that may take place. We also talked about provider registration and about, how mandatory registration, how, it could be avoided in terms of pushing small and regional providers out of the market, and also people, self-managers who receive personal supports through unregistered providers. What else? This week, there's a tender going out for a national RTO to train NDIA staff to be assessors under the new framework planning, if that makes sense. So we know anyway that there is going to have to be a retraining of that workforce with whatever the new assessment process looks like. So our tender went out to our RTOs this week. We talked about, and the team at the NDIA agreed with this, around the clarity of the definition of what permanence is in the bill in terms of when cases go to tribunal and the impact of that definition. They also, when we talked about the issues in regional and remote communities, there's 22 remote connectors that have been put in place in First Nations communities across Queensland. And they're setting up access clinics who will work in those local communities to support people with their NDIS applications. And then the last thing that I'll just touch on is we did bring up about the Inclusive Communities Fund, which is not yet in place. There's very low confidence in this fund and concerns that whatever that ends up looking like, that people may end up in situations like being in day centres again instead of having real choice and control, depending on what those community supports look like as well. That's very briefly, because I know we're short on time, but obviously Nick's here from policy team, and we'll keep on top of what's next with the NDIS bill, and keep an eye on the QDN e-news as well for those updates.
Thank you,
Talitha,
Beck.
is it back to you? Yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure. Thank you for that. But Paige, did you have any final comments that you wanted to make, or are we
I think
finished?
any other comment, Talitha, that I was going to make is, besides Nigel's idea of the 5 senators that we have in Queensland, I was just going to say to everyone that it will be the hearts and minds stuff that will actually impact the most to get mitigation to some of the changes that are being proposed. So by that I mean people who are able in any way to tell your story about what those changes could mean, will mean, the impact for you, and get that out, especially to those 5 Queensland senators at the moment. It would be really quite helpful. And in fact, I think it's probably one of the most powerful things that we can do.
Yeah. Thank you, Paige.
Can anybody hear me? Bert?
Yeah.
Hello, who's speaking, please?
Bert Rabacek in Rockhampton.
Yes, Bert.
Matt Canavan, I have a very close working relationship with Matt Canavan's office, and also Michelle Landry's office. On most days I'm in there working over issues that I've been finding here in Rockhampton. So any of the submissions that you'd like me to put forward to Matt, directly or indirectly. I just need to get up to speed on it, and I'm more than happy to take on the workload to get in there and speak with him and put whatever submissions forward. So far, some of the issues that you've been talking about, I haven't experienced in Rockhampton, but that's not to say they don't exist.
Okay.
And I
But
think,
thank you. Yeah, can I just say there, thank you very much for that. And we've got Nick from our policy team and Paige. I'm sure someone will be able to definitely take Bert up on that offer.
yeah, I'm more than happy
Yeah,
to get into
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I also noticed, and it's just an observation at this stage, that you seem to be very heavily focused on NDIS. Are we leaving out at home care or my aged care? Because there is a big community here with disabilities that are on in the home care packages, and there's a lot of advocacy work that needs to be carried out in that area. And I'm finding it difficult to help people that are entitled to services and knowing where and what to do. So I've in the last 4 years I've been pretty well flat out here, and I'm really excited to get into it. So
Hey, Bert, it's Gina here. It's really great you've joined this group. I was just thinking maybe Nick and I could catch up with you tomorrow. I know I've talked to you a little bit before, but would that be okay for us
by all
to
means,
connect
yeah,
with you? Yeah,
by
because I
all
think
means,
that's something we definitely want to hear more about, but we might take that offline and yeah, follow it up with you tomorrow if that's okay.
by all means, I'm more than happy
Brilliant.
to.
Thanks, Bert. It's
No
great to have
worries.
you here.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Gina. Thanks, Bert. Paige, anything else before we move on
No,
from
I'm
you?
fine.
You're
Thank
good.
you.
You're good. Okay, lovely to have you with us, Paige. Thank you very much. And now we're going to move along to our next section, which Kate and Josh, please don't feel any need to rush because this is very important and a wonderful part of what we're doing also. So I said at the beginning in our introduction that, just thrilled to have Kate Duffy and Josh Marshall, who are going to share a little bit about themselves and the communities they represent. I've personally had the great pleasure of working with both Kate and Josh. And they both really light up a room and bring incredible experience to all of the discussions that they're part of or lead. So, Gina, I'm going to say, as I do at this time every meeting, thank you to you and the POP team because there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes in, making sure that we have this really important part of reaching out to each other. Because as we say, we've all joined this at different times and many of us know each other, but it's a wonderful opportunity to reconnect or get to hear from somebody for the first time. So over to you. Thanks, Gina.
Thanks, Talitha. I would first of all like to introduce Kate. Thanks for saying yes, Kate. And I know you may cover some of this, but just to give everyone some perspective on your involvement with QDN, which has been for quite some time. But Kate was one of our very early emerging leaders back in 2021. Is also currently co-convener, one of the few people that are actually co-convening two peer support groups with QDN, our statewide online group, and also locally in Gladstone, but also been doing QD Engage work for quite some time, Kate, and some reforms work. So yeah, very engaged member. So I'll hand over to you, Kate, to fill us in more about yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Hello, everyone. I'm Kate. I'm in Gladstone in central Queensland. Visual description of myself, middle-aged Caucasian woman with short, dark, curly hair and blue eyes. Today I'm wearing magenta glasses, cat-eye glasses, and a navy t-shirt, which just tells you that we're actually on the verge of warm here in Gladstone. Speaking of which, I need to apologise for the noise behind me if you hear. I've got some very excited parrots in the bushes behind me, enjoying the wattle. So yeah. As Gina said, I've been around in QDN for quite a few years. I was one of the original emerging leaders back in 2021, and today I wear a number of hats. I guess I wouldn't have a specific area of interest in terms of housing, health, employment. What I'm interested is more general, just it's co-design, it's including people with lived experience in the conversations that matter. So that's what drives me. Another interest of mine is advocating for people with disability in regional areas. Having been in Gladstone for 20 years, I'm very aware that some of the challenges that we experience here are not so prominent in the cities. So I guess when I started working with QDN, the regional membership was minimal. However, over the last 5 years, it's really grown, which is really lovely to see. As Gina said, I've got quite a few hats that I'm wearing, so I'm presently an inclusion consultant. I'm also a member of the co-design disability reforms co-design team. I'm a peer leader and I co-convene two peer support groups. Some of you would also know my other role, which I relish, which is a timekeeper. So in view of that, I'm going to say that's it from me. I'm going to practice what I preach and throw back to Gina. Thanks, Gina.
Thank you, Kate. You are definitely one of the best timekeepers ever. All right. Now, thank you for sharing, and I'm sure that many people here are connected with you already, or will certainly do so afterwards. But yeah, thanks for sharing. All right. Our next person to introduce themselves today is Josh. I'm just trying to see, Josh, if you're on my screen here.
Yeah.
You
I'm
are.
here.
There you are. Hi,
Yep.
Josh. So
Thanks.
just I just wanted to share a little bit about Josh. So Josh again was one of our early emerging leaders, but the year after Kate, back in 2022, and has been a member of several peer support groups for a good few years now. And you're also doing some QD Engage consulting work, aren't you, Josh? And this year, one of our 4 peer mentors. So I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself further to everyone. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, no worries. Look, following Kate is a really hard gig. It's really hard to live up to what Kate does. But so I'm a registered nurse background. My end of my career was all in nurse education. So I'd studied a master's in education and moved across to the disability space once leaving nursing. I then studied to be an access consultant. So I should start again because I said that really, really incorrectly. Hi all, I'm Josh. I'm wearing a grey shirt. I'm wearing dark blue glasses. I'm middle-aged, short brown hair. I talk a lot. I don't know what else I can say. I love education. I love understanding, or I love other people understanding some of the challenges those with disability face. A lot of the work I do in access consultancy is actually more the teaching side of things and trying to teach big business owners to understand what those with disability go through on a day-to-day basis and trying to use their facilities. So I suppose my main area of interest is probably equal access, but from the education point of view. I think knowledge is key, and knowledge is the foundation as a grassroots before anyone changes anything. Um, so yeah, that's the area I like to kick a little can around in. Yeah, as Gina said, I'm an inclusion consultant and peer leader. Haven't done nearly as much as Kate, but that's okay. I run a business, Inclusion Access, where I'm trying to do that as well as a side hustle, and also obviously, as most of us, NDOS has another side hustle, and everything else that comes with that game. But thanks, Gina.
Thank you, Josh. You lead an extraordinarily busy life too. So you do you and Kate can do her. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Talitha, I will hand back over to you now to do your presentation
Thank,
this afternoon. Thank you.
thank, thank you, Gina. And look, just as I always just like to do a bit of another thanks there. Kate and Josh, I can see you both on my screen up the top at the same time, which is good for me because anyone that knows me knows I only have the central vision. So it's lovely to be able to, well, Josh, you're not on your screen. It is black, but I did see your face for a moment and I can see Kate there. Thank you both so much. And what I would say is you did an incredible job, both of you, capturing something that was so true with both of you in a very short time. Kate, I love that you're our timekeeper always. I just really do a shout out to you each time for that. And in saying that, you know, really what drives you is that regional area advocacy is so true and so important. And you were acknowledged beautifully for that and very appropriately for that earlier this year. And I know I'm not going to embarrass you and go through all of that again, but the incredible award that you received there. And yeah, just it's wonderful to be part of spaces where you really ignite people's understanding about regional issues. And Josh, coming to us from Toowoomba as well, such an understanding of the importance of education. And Josh and I worked on the All Abilities program in its first year, and Josh had such, you know, a drive for, as he said, explaining to people what the environmental barriers are, so that it's not the disability, it's the environmental barrier that actually is stopping that equitable access. So, yeah, thank you both for sharing a little bit of your story. Great to have you with us today. All right, now I know you're very excited to hear my piece, Gina, but I don't want you to bump me up the ladder. I think Beck would be most upset if
Oh,
we
I
skipped
do beg
her.
your pardon.
No,
Sorry,
you
Beck.
know, I'm joking. Not at all. But Beck, if you're still there, I can't see you on my screen, but I'm
I
sure you
am.
are. Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So for anyone that is joined us, there's a couple of people that weren't with us when you spoke to us last. So I will formally introduce you. Rebecca Casson is our Projects and Innovation Manager, and there's been some work happening with QD Engage after a review, which Beck has been sharing with us. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Beck, for a little bit more information.
Thanks, Talitha. It's Beck speaking again. And thank you, Kate and Josh. I've worked with both of you on projects on QD Engage work, and the impact you've had on the systems we're trying to change has been next level, so particular and employment. So I'm here to talk about the new name of QD Engage. Amy Anderson is here online as well, who works, you all know Amy. Amy works very closely with me on QD Engage. So we wanted to share with you some name options. It's very interactive. You get to vote on the name that you think QD Engage should have going forward. So we went through a review process. Then we had a working group, which was made up of board members and staff to talk about this continuous improvement of QD Engage and how we do our work better, both for the clients that come to do work with us and also for our QD Engage consultants. So from that, and we also spoke to our Q communicators group of QDN members who bring their marketing and communications expertise along monthly, and we talk to them about what the name should be. So QD Engage, there's two options, either QDN Consulting or QDN Consultancy. And I think we have a Zoom poll, and you should see it. It's popped up on your screen there. If you can't access that, you can vote on either of those names. Now, if you can't access that, you can type it into the chat, your preference, either QDN Consulting or QDN Consultancy. Or you can just say, if you also are unable to access the chat, you can also just let us know by popping your hand up or just letting us know, and we'll make a note of which of those you prefer.
Beck, this is Talitha speaking. Just wanted to say, if anybody wanted to vote but didn't want to have that out in the public and can't do that via how you said, they can obviously always call our
Yes.
reception too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll pop in the chat, I might get Amy to just pop the QD Engage email address in there. Even if you want to just have a chat about it afterwards, and the phone number, just reach out.
Beck, I'm just going to jump in. Sorry, Rachel
Yeah.
Matthews has to
Oh.
leave at 5, and I've just seen, Rachel, you've got your hand up. Was there a question you wanted to ask Beck before you left?
Yes, I'm just really interested. Why the need for a change? I've always really liked QD Engage. I thought it was a fantastic name.
So it came out of the review that there was some confusion around the brand and the name of QD Engage compared to QDN. So it was a review that we had an external consultant come in and do, who spoke to a number of our consultants, as well as government business community that we do QD Engage work with. But we're also happy to take on that feedback as well, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it takes away the ambiguity. QDN Engage is limited, but QDN, for me, QDN Consultancy covers everything that, the name says that we're advocates for the disability, and consultancy covers all of that range. I might be just old.
No, thank you, Bert. Thank you. That makes sense. Brendan, I can see you've got your hand up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think the other problem with QDN Engage was there was quite a lot of issues around, well, in my view, was because it was actually QDN Engage, and it was how it was actually written, caused a lot of issues with screen reading software when it was actually written with the capital E and lowercase n. There was a lot of confusion, in particularly around certain staff and even certain people would write it differently. So there was quite a lot of mixed issues around the wording. So I think any wording that is chosen needs to actually be fed through multiple screen reading software synthesizers to make sure that the continuity of understanding is also considered, and I would hope that that would have been considered within the review.
Yes. Thank you, Brendan. Kate, you've got your hand up, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, Beck, I just want to say I voted for the second option, QDN Consultancy. And one of the reasons that jumped to my mind straight away is we're actually inclusion consultants. So I think there's a synergy there that, we can maintain. So thanks, Beck.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks. We're going to move on to what the logo would look like. So there's 3 concepts that our graphic designer has come up with. What you see on the screen now is concept 1. So I'm just going to do a visual description. So concept 1, on the left, there's a logo that features the word QDN Consultancy, and the QDN part of the wording is our current logo, and then it has consultancy, and it's inside a stylized speech bubble that's made from a blue to teal gradient outline, and it has an open sort of circular shape. So it's using the current brand colors of QDN. And then the right logo, which is a variation. So this is all the same concept. It has the QDN brand as well, a QDN Consultancy, which is inside a rectangular speech bubble, and it's outlined in the same blue to teal gradient, and it has a pointed speech tail at the bottom right. So that's concept 1, and you'll be voting on these shortly also. So we'll go to concept 2. This is concept 2. So on the left, the concept features the white letters QDN Consulting inside a large dark blue speech bubble with an orange speech bubble accent, which is wrapping around the letter Q. So it's like there's an orange curved line wrapping around the letter Q. And then there's 2 concepts on the right that just have the 2 name options. And those are the same blue QDN word mark with the orange speech bubble accent. So it's like a curved orange line that kind of wraps around the Q of QDN. So that's concept 2. And then concept 3 is 2 QDN logo concepts are side by side, and they just have different names. The QDN Consulting and then QDN Consultancy. They're on a white background, so still using the QDN blue color, and both feature the bold dark blue letters QDN, and there's an orange speech bubble icon that has a white stylized person inside it. And then yeah, that's concept 3. So here's the 3 concepts together, and then you should then get the Zoom poll popping up on your screen again so that you can vote for your favorite concept. And thank you for the comments in the chat as well. And Nadia, thank you for your comment. It's not dyslexia or reading disability friendly. And there's the Zoom poll that's just popped up there. Claire, while we're voting, you've got your hand up. How are you?
I was wanting to make the comment on that I'm still processing it all, so I don't really know exactly what to really be voting on.
Yeah, yeah.
And also for the fact that I was so used to QDN Engaged as well, because I didn't know anything else other than QD Engage. And to when there's so many multiple options, I really just don't know exactly what to go with. But I can say one thing. If you're wanting to be a lot more inclusive, then I would go for the one that's got consulting in it instead of all the other options, because I think being inclusive and if you're wanting also to promote advocacy, then I think I would be going more with the consulting side of things.
Thank you, Claire.
Put some hands up,
Brendan.
Beck. Yeah.
Brendan, you've got your hand up.
Hello. Just to sorry to bring this up again, but the description of those 3 logos do not seem to indicate that there would be any low vision. Like all those colors you specifically outlined are all colors that low vision people really dislike. So again, I would hope the review that QDN has initialized on this process has actually gone through and tested these different graphics with a low vision user, and whether that user can actually identify and read these logos.
Thank you, Brendan. Thank you for bringing that up. It's Beck speaking. I think what we might do, because we do this more and more now, because we have so many wonderful and amazing consultants that we work with, is Amy and I might actually go away in the next week or two and do some of that testing with some of our consultants who
But
are
I
low
would have
vision
I
or
would
use
have
them.
thought that your review into this process would have identified that.
Yes, but the logo concepts are new. Our graphic designer has just come up with these logo concepts, so we'll take those to be tested. Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks.
Hey, Beck, is Paige.
Yeah.
Just so that everyone's clear, you're having a conversation with people today about some of these options. This is not something that you're going to do tomorrow, if I've got it.
No, that's right.
I think it would be good if people know what the next steps are too. I know they're answering questions now, but just so that everyone's aware that tomorrow it will still be Cootie and Engage at this point, and you're still getting feedback and information, I understand, from people, including all our members. So Brendan, the point that you're raising about the use of the right colours that will work for different people is very important. And as Beck said about incorporating that. But I do understand, Beck, that there's a bit of a process around this. It's not just this afternoon and then all of a sudden Claire's going to wake up. I don't want Claire to think she's going to wake up tomorrow morning and there'll be a name change when she goes to look for Cutie and Engage.
Yeah, thank you, Paige. Yes, it's been a journey so far, and one that we won't be rushing. And we have another Q communicators meeting this week. We've been checking in with them monthly throughout this process, so we'll be bringing these to chat to the Q communicators with, as well as doing more engagement with members and our QD Engage consultants. But we just wanted to make sure that you were also all included as part of that process. And then next steps really are starting to, implement some of this. We have a project plan, which we've been rolling out all year around these changes. And so part of that project plan is coming along to update you all, making sure that you all receive communications about what's changing, when it might change, how it will impact you, and making sure that we're doing, deep listening and a lot of engagement with members around this as well. So yeah, thank you, Paige. And thank you, everyone. I hope I haven't gone too much over time. With this, I think that's the end of the PowerPoint. Is that right, Amy? Thank you, Amy, for helping me out as well. Talitha, I think it's back to you now, and we'll grab all those comments from the chat too.
Okay, and yeah, some really important comments there. And I saw Daniel's too in the chat there. So all of that will be taken into account. And I'd also just remind everybody that for people that are very understandably wanting some time to process and look at that, that Amy and Beck, you could perhaps pop an email in the chat as well so that people could follow up after today if they wanted to also just to, have a conversation or look at that. But good to see that there's lots of work happening behind the scenes, and we'll look forward to an update, Beck, at the next iteration.
Thanks, Talitha.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, my goodness, it's 5:09. So we've had an action-packed meeting as usual. We know that that always is the case. I'm going to take just a little bit of time now. I will reduce what I was going to look at doing for the board nomination process, but we'll cover everything that we need to. And then I think what we'll do is we'll just see how much time we have left. We were going to break into yes, Gina, thank you. I can see you nodding. We were going to break into our breakout rooms. We might just see how much time we have left for that as well. All right, so change of gear. Just as I mentioned in our May meeting, we have this year as a 2026 is an election year for QDN board directors. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to mention that. And I know that I have some fellow friends, colleagues, and people online too that have been directors before and been part of this process or are currently. I think Nigel might have ducked off. I'm not sure if he's still here, but Peter Tully, I see you out there, and others as well. Please, I know Rachel was as well. So there's many people here that can give some insights. But what I wanted to do today was just say it's a fairly standard process. So this is an expression of interest process. So first of all, the first step, and I should say, some of you may have already done this, and I know that we obviously have received some nominations, which is great. The closing time for nominations is Monday, the 6th of July. So I know it's hard to believe, but tomorrow is the 1st of July, so it's next Monday that closes. And really importantly, it closes at 8 a.m. And late or incomplete nominations, unfortunately, can't be accepted. So, I'd really advise if you're wanting to get it in by no later than Sunday evening would be the way to go. And what this process is about is, first of all, there's a short statement of up to 500 words that we ask people, nominees, to put together, just talking about your lived experience of disability, your skills and experience, and what you think you could bring to QDN's board. So there's a short statement, then there's no longer than a 2-page curriculum vitae or resume. And then there's an expression of interest form. Now, all of this information is found on our QDN website. And before Michelle hopped on the plane, she absolutely assured me and others that we have everything working. I know in our last meeting with the website, there were a couple of things that were being looked at. So everybody will be able to access it. Again, though, technology is our friend until it doesn't work, and that happens everywhere. So if we have a situation where something's not working, the incredible QDN team is always there to answer questions. So given today is Tuesday, if you are interested and have not yet completed an expression of interest form to nominate for the QDN board, can I recommend that you hop off the meeting this afternoon and make that a priority. So what you can do is just go onto the QDN website and you can go to the latest e-news, which was the 4th of June. That's the one that Michelle delivered. Underneath that, there is all of the writing about what was spoken about, and there's a link there that you can just click on, and it takes you straight to the expression of interest page. I'd just like to say to people, number one, if you are interested in leadership, if you are interested in advocating with hearts, minds, if you are interested in making a contribution to Queensland disability leadership, Queensland disability advocacy, to the social and economic participation of people with disability in our great state, then please consider this. So this is my 4th year on our board, and it has been an incredible journey. And I would absolutely recommend that if it's something that you believe you have time and experience to contribute, then hop on the website and read a little bit more about it. Just to break down some practicalities for people, we meet as a board every 6 weeks or so. And the reason I say or so is it depends obviously on, holiday times across December and January. We don't have a meeting in January at all. We have January off, but we do have a number of board meetings throughout the year. We have a strategic planning day for all the board and the senior leadership team. That's generally the first Saturday in February. Our board meets on a Tuesday evening. The board meetings start at 5. They generally go to about 8 o'clock. Now, we really are asking people from right across Queensland to consider nominating. So many of our directors that are based in Brisbane meet at the head office for the board meeting, and we also have many that join us online that are regional or remote based. So there is absolutely no problem with wherever a member lives that if you wish to nominate for the board. So you'll be able to access it either online or by heading into the office. The second point I wanted to raise was that every board member also sits on a board committee. So QDN currently has 2 committees, the Nominations and Performance Committee and then the Audit and Compliance Committee. And every director sits on one of those committees as well. And generally there are 5 to 6 committee meetings a year. So I'm going to say that like all boards, to do a job well, it takes energy, it takes interest, it takes time to be able to be prepared for the meetings. We also have opportunities as directors, which we really encourage directors to do, to be present, because the QDN Board of Directors leads the organisation. So it's all of the strategic visioning. It's actually thinking about where do we think disability leadership, where do we think QDN should be at in the next 3 to 5 years, and planning and working with our senior leadership team and our staff. So it's a very exciting role. It's one that's a privilege. It's one that I take with great humility. I am incredibly proud of the fact that I get to serve Queensland and all of our members in this way. So I recommend the opportunity to you. I would suggest again, just remember that if you're interested in nominating, that you have a look at the website. If you have any problems accessing the information on the website, I would suggest ringing our reception office tomorrow, given that's Wednesday. I just want to finish by saying a couple of things about process. The process for our board is one that's similar to many boards. That is, this isn't what you would be doing if you actually wanted to express interest in being on the board at this time, is you would be putting in an extra expression of interest. The Nominations and Performance Committee then works through all of the nominations, and there is a list of requirements. And all of those requirements are set out on the expression of interest form. So the expression of interest form is what you will find on the website. And what I mean by that is you must be a QDN ordinary member. The person nominating must be in good standing, can't be employed by QDN. There are certain requirements. And if you don't have these things at the moment, that's not a reason not to nominate, but it's just to be aware of it. So things like the NDIS worker screening clearance, each director is required to have one of those. They're also required to have a Queensland Working with Children clearance and a director identification number. If you don't have those at the moment, but wish to nominate and express your interest in being considered by the Nominations and Performance Committee, because they will then make a recommendation to the board about which members will be endorsed to stand for election. Go ahead, put the nomination in, and then QDN staff will be able to assist with those people that are actually endorsed for nomination, if you don't currently have those screening clearances that we've talked about, then QDN staff will actually be able to assist to say, this is what you need and this is how you can go about getting that. And there's information again on the website about all of this. So there's quite a bit to cover there. I'm just going to open up for any questions that anybody has. If I can just ask people to be mindful of time as well, that would be wonderful. Claire, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, by the way, first and foremost, I'm not going to be nominating for this, but I can tell you though that you sound very much like the Down Syndrome Australia's board, because I actually now, it's been 6 years that I have been an independent director on the board of Down Syndrome Australia.
Yes.
And which I actually have made history in, because I actually didn't just apply for it. I actually also got invited on as well. But I can tell you, it is so worth it. I agree, Talitha, in everything you're saying. So I really urge you to, really be encouraged by taking up on wanting to be on a board. Totally recommend it.
Claire, thank you so much. We couldn't have scripted that better if I'd spoken to you before the meeting, could we? That's just fantastic, and congratulations to you, because I know, as I said, to do it well, it takes a lot of energy and time, but it is so rewarding, as you've said, and it's so important because we're part of steering absolutely what happens with policy and program and community attitudes and everything that's so important to the disability sector and community, and to community generally. So Claire, thank you so much. So did anyone have any other, I just can't see everyone on my screen, but is there anyone that would like to ask a question? Was there anyone that would like to make a comment? Any people that are on that have been previous directors or current directors of QDM board that would like to mention anything? Am I missing any hands up? Please shout out if I'm not. I'm not.
Daniel Flynn has just put his hand up.
Daniel, yes.
Hi, Talitha. Thanks. Look, I just wanted to give a quick comment. Look, as someone who has spent the last 25 years of my life on more boards than I care to count, look, can only again recommend and redouble what has already been said, that this is an experience that you'll never forget. And while I don't have the time or the spoons right now to apply for this particular board, maybe next year, right now, look, if anyone is interested, don't be particularly concerned that whether you've got lots of previous experience or not. You'll learn on the job, and I can promise you'll never forget it. Thanks, Talitha.
Thank you, Daniel, and I really appreciate you sharing those sentiments as well. So, if I had virtual Mars bars or Kit Kats, I should be throwing these out to all of the people that are doing such a wonderful job to share the message that I hope you're receiving this afternoon, which is that, I know everybody is busy and there are many very, very worthwhile ways and organisations to be part of. So we just wanted to put this before you this afternoon and say, as as QDN peer leaders, you are the current leadership group for QDN, and obviously it would be for many of you a natural progression in your QDN journey to perhaps think about taking up that opportunity. But as I said, just remember it all closes off 8 a.m. Monday morning. So if you are interested, please, visit the website. And if there are any problems with accessing the website, please contact the office too, and we will go from there. So, all right, 5:24. We're doing it incredibly well. I think what we're going to do at this point is just be conscious that we've realistically got 5 minutes. So instead of breaking into topic groups, we did just pop down there and we had a little bit of an overview from Paige and myself about the Senate Standing Committee response there to the NDIS bill. And then Paige gave us some insight into the Queensland budget as well. What we were just wanting to do is take an opportunity to say, did anyone have any feedback that they wanted to share that they'd heard or received from the communities that you are part of and lead? So I might just open the floor. If we can do as we usually do, if people could just pop the hand up in the reactions. If that's not accessible for you, please just say your name and, I'll head over to you. So have we got anyone?
So Daniel has got his hand up, and then Brendan.
Brilliant. Yep. Thank you very much. Daniel?
Sorry, that's an old hand.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Brendan, over to you.
Hello. I just wanted to bring up about the e-scooter and e-bike review again. I have been trying to locate. Apparently, there is a $50 fine for the wrongly placement of e-scooters that apparently the local police have to enforce, but nobody can seemingly tell me whether this is correct.
Okay, Brendan, thank you. I'm just going to open that up. Nick, have you heard anything on that page?
No.
No. Can I just say, the
Queensland
government...
It's so disappointing that this has not been highlighted, because I continuously run into e-scooters still parked in completely inadequate places.
Yeah, absolutely, Brendan. I'm with you there. I just wonder if this is something I know the Queensland government have started just in the last few days. A lot of people have been aware of an advertising campaign about the e-scooters and everything. So I'm not sure if something's coming from that, Brendan. But I just ask all of our QDN staff online. I can't see you all, but did anyone have any information they could share with Brendan on that?
Talitha, it's Paige. We might follow up and get back to you, Brendan.
Yeah, cool.
Probably the best way. Nick's been doing some work, particularly in that area, but we'll follow up and we'll get you some information.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Excellent. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Paige. Okay, any other hands up or people that...
Nadia.
Nadia, thank you. Hello, Nadia.
Yeah, I don't know how to summarize this helpfully, in 3 hours, let alone less than, 30 seconds. But look, I think the sense with the federal budget and the state budget, the really big sense I'm getting is people are like, we didn't expect anything, we didn't get anything, we still the NDIS isn't giving us what we need, or we're not eligible for the NDIS. We can't afford groceries. We don't know how we'll afford housing if the rent goes up $30. A lot of people are in absolutely dire straits and they have no expectation that the government will even acknowledge it. So it feels like really what we're going through is being ignored a lot of the time. And I think a lot of people just don't tune in anymore because they go, it's just going to get worse, isn't it? And that's the sense I've got this year.
Yeah, Nadia, thank you. I would echo that in communities that I'm working with at the moment too. That, as you say, a sense of that absolute anxiety, but real despair. And Paige, as you mentioned in the very quick oversight, you were able to give us an overview, I should say, of the budget. The budget, I don't believe the commentary around that that many people are sharing is that the budget hasn't necessarily done anything to alleviate that fear and that anxiety.
And Talitha, I was just going to add, Cheryl has popped a comment in the chat around, she's been hearing that people are already losing support hours in anticipation of the legislative changes. And Jody has heard the same, despite the amendment not actually being formally passed as legislation, the agency is applying this anyway.
Thank you, Gina. Yeah, thank you, Jody. And was that Cheryl as well? Yeah.
And Talitha, I agree exactly what you were saying before, that we have numbers of people who are, we have a number of people who are telling us or we're hearing back that many people are in bad circumstances overall at the moment. The issues to do with cost of living, your power, your rent, the bills that you pay just to be able to get out of the house, let alone try to have a life. And then we've got the big changes happening to the NDIS. So I'd be the first to say that it's a time that if you need to reach out and talk with anyone, then make sure that you do either reach out to one of the people in the POP team or someone at QDN. Or Gina, perhaps we can type in those, can we type into the chat the numbers that people can contact? Because we may finish today's conversation and something that someone said may have sparked something in yourself that you can't stop thinking about and upsets you. And if that's the case, you do want to be able to speak to someone.
Absolutely, Paige. Yeah, no, great. I thought we do have those numbers generally that we can pop in.
Gina, if you don't have them, I think Nick had them earlier today. If one of us can pop those in.
I was just looking them up today, so I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. That'd be great, Isabel. Thank you. Yeah. And I think that's so true, Paige, isn't it? That we can walk away from a meeting and might feel all right at that particular time, but then something, as you say, really triggers. And it's really important to have the numbers at hand to have the discussions rather than leave it. Yeah.
Or Talitha, for them to either ring one of us at QDN or speak to one of your peer connections or one of the board members. Make sure you always get clarification. There is so much information, and a lot of it is misinformation on media and our social media at the moment about changes and what's happening. We want people to get accurate information. And we don't want people worrying unnecessarily about things.
No, thank you. And Paige, I'm trying to think back. It was our May meeting where we really talked about that importance. People will remember, I'm sure, about exactly what you're saying about having the correct, accurate information. And that's a good reminder too. I know we mentioned it earlier in our meeting today. And I think, Nick, I'm sorry, forgive me, you will understand I can't see it on my chat at the same time. But I think, Nick, you put something in the chat there which just looking at the NDIS page that we have up, which has the facts and that's updated regularly. So that's a point of truth in terms of NDIS and then in terms of, the budget and all of the other intersecting issues that are happening at the moment, Paige. It's important to have those contacts. Isabel, are they in the chat now? They are they?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic. All right. Well, look, I'm conscious it's 5:33. Were there any other hands up, Gina, that I've missed? No?
Not at the moment, Talitha.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. All right. just before we close, Paige and our POP team, anything that we have missed that we need to
No,
work
all
through?
good here. Thank
No?
you.
Paige, you're good?
No, looking
No,
forward to catching up with people at some of the peer groups in the next few weeks. So that will be good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I just saw a comment at the bottom. I'm not sure who that was from, but about self-care. So very important too. All right, as we bring this meeting to a close, as I say each month, and again, I can't believe tomorrow is the 1st of July, but to say to everybody, thank you so much for being present. Thank you for prioritising being part of this meeting. I really value and appreciate the fact that everybody has so many competing commitments for their time, and you are prioritizing being here, and QDN is stronger for that. So many, many thanks. Thanks to all of the people involved today in making things happen. You know who you are, QDN staff. Thank you very much. And we look forward to going forth into what we know is going to be a continuing, very busy month with lots of opportunities for us to share stories, to lead, to advocate, to articulate really, really strongly in terms of, what as a community and as a sector is important and is authentic and, needs to be heard. So thank you for being with us today. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Talitha. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone. Bye.
See you
Thank
tomorrow,
you.
Bye.
Teresa.